My name is John S. Seberger, and I'll be presenting a brief overview of findings from our study of attitudes and perceptions regarding pandemic tracking apps in the U.S. In this short video, I'll provide a brief overview of findings related to two of our research questions. For the rest, we encourage you to read the full paper. 1. Do people's social orientations predict how they expect to use pandemic tracking apps? And 2. Is expected use influenced by the social framing used to describe the apps? We used a scenario involving a fictional smart thermometer pandemic tracking app to answer these two research questions relative to three dependent variables. First, people's expectations to use the app honestly. Second, the expectation to take the actions recommended by the app to prevent infections. And third, the expectation to continue using the app for general health monitoring even after the pandemic has been controlled. We analyzed 389 responses from participants from the United States recruited via Amazon Mechanical Turk. Of the 389 participants, 259 were individualists and 130 were collectivists in terms of their social orientation, which we determined with the IND-COL scale taken from the literature. After screening to ensure individuals were above the age of 18, residents of the United States, and consented to participate, participants were presented with a scenario describing the app that was varied systematically to match the study condition. We varied the scenarios between subjects according to the language used to frame them, which we refer to as social framing. Participants then completed questionnaire items including mobile device privacy and social orientation scales from the literature. Finally, participants provided demographic information. We used cumulative link models in R to determine the predictive value of four independent variables: age, gender, social framing, and social orientation. Further, we looked for interactions between social framing and social orientation. In the slides that follow, the purple box indicates the dependent variable. Yellow, social framing, green, social orientation, and orange, the interaction between social orientation and social framing. We do not discuss age-related findings in this video, but they are discussed in the paper. Gender was not a statistically significant predictor in any of the models we fitted. Relative to people's expectations to use pandemic tracking apps honestly, we found that social orientation is a statistically significant predictor. More specifically, collectivists demonstrated a higher expectation to use pandemic tracking apps honestly. We further found interactions between social framing and social orientation. Collectivists who received the individualist social framing condition had a higher expectation to use the app honestly than did individualists in either social framing treatment condition. Relative to people's expectations to take app-recommended infection prevention measures, we found that collectivists have a higher expectation than do individualists to follow the guidance of the app regarding infection prevention practices. We similarly found that collectivists who received individualist social framing scored higher than participants in any other study conditions. Finally, we measured people's expectations to continue using pandemic tracking apps for general health monitoring even after the pandemic has been controlled. We found that social framing was a statistically significant predictor of this factor. Both collectivist and individualist framing yielded significantly higher levels of expectation than the control for individualists as well as collectivists. As with previous models, we found that social orientation significantly predicts expected continued use of the app. Collectivists expect to continue using pandemic tracking apps for general health monitoring to a greater extent than individualists. In summary, we found social orientation to be a significant predictor of honest expected use, expectation to take app-recommended infection prevention measures, and the expectation to continue using pandemic tracking apps for general health monitoring post-pandemic. In all cases, collectivists indicated higher tendencies than individualists regarding these aspects. Contrary to our expectations, collectivists' expected use of the pandemic tracking app increased when the app was framed using individualist social framing. Individualists' expectations, on the other hand, did not change regardless of social framing. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank those who provided valuable input and support for this work. This research is partially supported by funding from the Indiana University Office of the Vice Provost for Research. Our findings suggest that in a predominantly individualist country such as the United States, we cannot simply rely on the better angels of our nature when planning pandemic mitigation strategies. Our paper includes a detailed discussion of what these findings suggest regarding the post-pandemic social contract. Thank you.